probably is live. So I'll come back to you and I will say hello to everybody. Welcome. Happy Thursday. It can't believe it's Thursday already. We are here for Spark Stories today, and we have a fabulous guest. I'm very excited to talk to her. Um, and I started Spark Stories, these lives, because in my own business, I am working to help parents work out what their child's like inner spark is and to be able to follow that. And I realized that also as a networking leader with MIB, I was talking to loads of women who were now got to this point in their lives and they were following their own spark, and it's like they've finally followed that. So it's just really interesting to see where people are coming from. I will just double check we are actually live. It looks like we are. Yay, we are. So if you are watching this live, please pop a comment below just to let us know. Give us some comments, give us some happy faces, some angry faces, anything that you can think of, just to get the algorithm sending it out to more people. And if you're watching on replay, give us a hashtag replay. Chuck us your questions and we will answer them at another time. Or if I can, whilst we are actually live. That would be quite amazing. So we have Rubab Najafi here today, and I would love to hand over to you. Tell us about you, what you do, and how you got here.
So, I am an empowerment coach. I've been through quite a journey myself um, when I started the business, and I've hit roadblocks and just worked through them and getting back into the gist of things. I'm actually an empowerment coach, and I help people to come back to their original state. So along the road, like usually it's during childhood, we pick up a lot. So we don't know how to emotionally regulate ourselves. We end up storing unprocessed emotions in our body, any unprocessed trauma. And what happens is this then it becomes like obstacles for you, whether that's in your relationships or business or success or just showing up in the world. It really affects your confidence. You have a lot of insecurities. And I know I hit a really bad roadblock when I went through my own divorce. So that was actually where my journey started. Um, I got divorced in 2019 and I was deeply depressed that year. And I had my daughter was around 8.5 at the time. And I remember being super disconnected from home, like really disconnected. We didn't really have a relationship. It was more like I was just there physically. Like, there was nothing else in terms of emotional there. And I felt like I was playing the same pattern of what I had as a child. And I was like, okay, this is not right. And it still took me a while until I met someone through an arranged kind of interaction, and I got engaged again. And I was feeling the same feelings I was with my ex. And I was like, okay, this is not him. This is not them. This is me. This is what I'm doing, and I need to work on me. And I met a coach at the time. She was amazing. And I started working with her, and through her I met other people, and I've done various things like energy healing, constellation work, silent counseling, um, loads of different stuff, compassion. And I was like, okay. And as I saw myself going through this journey, I saw myself evolving as a person, and it completely changed how I connected with myself and then in turn with my daughter. So I actually started building a foundation with her, and our relationship started blooming. And I was like, wow, I've never felt this way like before. Like I'm actually having interactions with her. I love being in her presence. I don't find it challenging anymore. I'm letting go of that anger I used to have in me. And it was just amazing. And it's like, I don't know if you've ever done like healing work, but every time you do something, it's like I had a dopamine hit. And it was like, I was like, wow, this is amazing. Like it does get exhausting at times because you need to rest it out. But it's like the way it changes the way you think, the way you show up, the way you connect with others. And especially with my daughter, it was a whole new world for me. I can never experience this. I'd never seen this. And I never knew it existed. And I was like, I've got to do something like this. Like I was actually on a call with my coach, and she was like, I can see you being a coach because of the way you ask questions and you're inquisitive and you get people to think. And I was like, really? She was like, yeah. So I did a coaching course, and then I was like, no, there's more. There's more. And I ended up doing a practitioner's course in constellation work with a lady called Lara Vincent. And when I initially started working with her, I was like, have you got um a course that you could do, you could teach me, train me in what you do? And she was like, I don't do that. And then when she did, I was like, I have to get on this. So it was an in-person retreat, and I did that. And you know, I was like, I've got to share this with people. So I started moving my work around. It was just like doing little sessions with people, family, friends, and they were like, this is amazing. You've got to do more of this. And then I started moving around with my work, and like my target audience was originally was like my community. And I still feel like there's a lot of resistance there to this. But I was like, if you can connect on that deep level, especially with your kids and the people closest to you, why would you sort of be resistant to being uncomfortable for some time in order to get something out of it as deep as that? Because to me, it's like connections and relationships are really, really important to me. And I give a lot of value to them. And for me, it's like in this world, if you don't have special connections and deep connections, like what is the point of life? I mean, you can have everything, but you don't have those deep connections with people, it feels meaningless. And the fact that I get to do that and spread my work in that way, and I always say to parents, I'll say to them, if you are facing challenges with your kids, you need to look back at yourself. There's something within you that you need to address. So it's like, for example, if you don't feel heard by them, right? Where are you suppressing your own needs? Where are you not listening to your own voice? What is it that you need fulfillment with? Because they're only mirroring back to you. It's really not about them, it's about you. And I think it's a lot, it was harder for me to grasp before, but until I started working on me and seeing the change in my daughter, I was like, this is amazing. Because this is her blooming into someone confident who can speak her mind, who shows up in the world, setting boundaries without being walked all over. And like her voice is something, it can be triggering for people, but it's also very powerful. And it's, you want kids like that who show up in the world like that, because that's more of what we need right now. So yeah, that basically that's been my journey, and coming into the space where I can show women what's possible on the other side. It's so fulfilling. Like for me, if like someone says to me, we came to you for a session, one of the mothers, she called me and she said, the session I did with you, she said it's literally shifted everything. And I was like, that's amazing. Like it just gives me so much fulfillment, and it affirms that belief in me that it really does all start with you, and everything that you are struggling with in terms of challenges, whether that's with your kids, with your partners, um, with anyone in your life, it's always about you and what's going on within you. And every time I've dealt with myself when I am facing a challenge, it just seems to flow through and things just kind of unfold and work themselves out, which I found really, really powerful. But your whole reality changes as a result of this work. And there's nothing more I want than to move this around the world. And it matters to me because it's like one person who is affected by this work and does good. It has a ripple effect because their kids and then their kids' kids. And it's like changing the whole generation, which is much needed in the world right now because there's so much generational trauma that has resulted in what's going on the earth. And it starts in the family system. Like I don't know if you've ever experienced this, but like I know as children, it's like people would come in and if anyone was expressing anger or rage in a way that was being projected out on others, no one ever said anything and it wasn't stopped in its tracks. And it's like when you objected to it, you were told, be quiet, don't say anything, don't answer back. That's disrespectful. But it's actually you're setting the boundary and you're stopping that in its tracks because it's wrong. Yeah. Emotions are not wrong, it's how you channel them. And if you're not channeling them in the right way, what happens is other people get hurt on the way. And it's like this starts in our family systems. So if we're not healing ourselves, how do we expect the world to change? Change begins with us. It's the essence of everything.
I love everything you've just said. And that story, thank you for sharing the story of how you felt very disconnected with your daughter. And like, I feel like there's so many of us out there that have felt that or are feeling that because our life is really busy and like everything. I mean, not the system is not set up for mothers. It doesn't set up, it's not set up for us to succeed. And there's so much we could talk about, but I feel like that's a very hard thing to admit to yourself and then to admit it to other people as well. And it just reminded me of my son, he's now 2, when he was about 9 months old. My daughter was probably 6.5, and I felt very disconnected from her. And it all came, like it was all a lot. Like she held it in for so long, and then it all came to a big thing. And I was like, something has to change here because this can't continue. And you're absolutely right. We need to look at ourselves and what the unmet need is in ourselves, or the, like you say, the trauma. And yeah, and it was I'm so glad, almost not, I'm not glad that that happened, but I'm glad that I was able to recognize that and do something about it, because now our relationship is amazing. And we still have times where, you know, he the I love him so much, obviously, but the toddler gets in the way of us having our time. But we always make sure that we have our one-to-one time and we have that connection time, because as she grows up, I think that it gets harder, doesn't it? Especially at that sort of in-betweeny age. What else did I write down as you were talking? And yeah, about the anger, the anger that you were talking about, and how it just made me think, well, anger's always another emotion really underneath. The anger is just kind of what comes out, isn't it? So that was just, it just was interesting to me. But yeah, but thank you very much for sharing. Um, so what I asked you before, what's going to be your like top tip for the people watching today that they can sort of take away with them and go forward with?
So, my top tip is if you're dealing with any challenges, anything in your life, look back at yourself. It's really not about what's happening on the outside. It's really not about your relationship with your child. It's really not about your relationship with your partner. It's all about you, and it's your needs. And where are you not meeting your own needs? Where are you not listening to yourself? Where are you not fulfilling yourself in a way that you feel complete and whole? Because what we tend to do is we expect the other person to fulfill us emotionally, whether that's our kids or our partners or any relationships we have. We're expecting something and we want it to fill that emptiness we're feeling within us. And that's not possible. That's something you have to do for yourself. And once you start doing that, you will see automatically how you're able to connect to your child better. You can connect to your partner better. You can connect to other people better. And you understand where they're coming from, as opposed to being, oh, she did this, or he said this, or he did that. But it's never about you when they're doing things, it's about them, right? And it's just looking at yourself always.
That's quite a hard thing to do, though, isn't it?
Oh, it's
It's
fair.
not like it's not a quick fix. It's, and like you say, it's an uncomfortable, often it's a very uncomfortable process to do. How, obviously working with a coach is a really great way of doing this, but if that's not within people's means, what could they do today to start that sort of journey? What's one thing that they could really kickstart it?
So what I find is literally just becoming aware of your own patterns. And even if you need to journal it out, you sit down with a book and a pen and you say, every time I feel challenged by my child, for example, what is it that's coming up for me in my head? What thoughts are coming up? What feelings are coming up? Right? And that's where you start, because when you start becoming aware, it changes everything, because then you're like, oh, that's a thought that came up. And the thing is, what we tend to do as human beings is, because we're not aware and conscious, we push it down
Mhm.
and we numb it and we're not aware. And what it does is it just boils up and surfaces up again and again and again. And it just, until it blows up. Like, so we'll have like I don't know, a panic attack, anxiety attack. We'll just get really angry and shout at the kids. Something like that happens. But it's because we're not aware and conscious. So once you
Mm.
start becoming aware and conscious of your thoughts and feelings and emotions, then you're like, okay, how can I deal with that? How can I cope in that moment so I'm not reacting from that space? Right? Because you can deal with that emotion later instead of going, okay, I'm going to literally shout at this kid right now because I'm so angry. I'm going to take it out on them. But in the process, what we're doing is we're really playing with their self-worth in that moment. So it's like you can start by journaling. Like I started my journey literally by meditating. It was the way to ground myself.
Mhm.
And then doors just started opening. I was like, okay, I need to know what to do next.
Mhm.
And it was slow steps for me, but I literally, it's like doors open for you. Once you take that first step and say, okay, I want to become aware and conscious of what I'm doing and why I'm doing it, that's when everything changes, the game changes. There's so much out there right now. There's things like tapping,
Yeah.
EFT, um, and that you can literally disperse emotions in like 5 minutes with that. That's an amazing tool.
Mhm.
Meditation, there's breath
Yeah.
work, there's so much available out there on the internet right now. And it's literally just weaving those small tools into your everyday box. And it's like, okay, I need this right now. Give myself a bit of compassion. I'm feeling angry. Okay, I'm feeling angry. I don't have to act on it, but let me just hold that part of me that's feeling angry right now. Yeah. And give that part compassion. So it's really not complicated. It's small steps. And there's so much available right now on the internet. So
There
much.
is, there is, and I agree with you that just taking the small steps and just doing like one thing. Like I did a lot of meditating, and I was like, I'm never gonna be able to do that because I can't switch my brain off. But that's not what it's about. And it's about almost, I feel like a lot of people feel a little bit embarrassed to take those first steps into self-care. But like you say, once you do one and you're like, oh, actually, I'll try something else as well. And it's like it's transformational when you actually start doing it because you're giving yourself, you're putting yourself first, and you're really acknowledging that you need a lot of self-worth and you are worthy of those things. But I think as mothers, we the minute we turn into mothers, something happens and we suddenly think that we're not worth any of that, but you are, and that is it's the way to start. It really is. And having that awareness, like you say, um, it doesn't mean that you're going to catch yourself before everything happens every time, but having the awareness is such a huge first step because then you can start to notice it once something's happened or once something's triggered you, and then you'll start to notice it while it's happening, and then you'll start catching yourself before, and it's really really important. So thank you so much for sharing all of those things. Um, and I've also wrote down like all of those things you mentioned, like EFT, a bit of meditation, breath work. All of those things are where the self-care is at. It doesn't have to be like you need to go for a spa day, and because actually I don't think that works at all because you come back and nothing's changed. But if you can build these like 2 or 3 minute practices into your day, you're actually going to get them done. You're not going to feel like you're failing because you haven't managed to do the thing that you would set out to do. And it's so useful, it's so helpful. So thank you so much. Um, we are going to say goodbye in a little moment, but first of all, can you tell us your offerings, where we can find you, if you've got any things you want to share?
Um, so my website is being developed as we speak.
Okay.
I do have an Instagram
Mhm,
handle. It's at Rubab N27.
mhm.
If you just add that and then you can get in touch with me, I can send you my QR code. It's got like my whole my links and everything there. And at the moment, I've got something underway that I'm doing. I'm going to be doing a free webinar in a couple of weeks' time.
Okay.
But that's underway at the moment. So I will share closer to the
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
At the moment, I do one-to-ones, and I'm thinking of setting up my group sessions again. So if you get in contact with me, I can tell you what's available and if that works for you or not. And
Perfect.
in terms of, you know, like I said, the main focus is you and even if you're weaving in, even if it's 2 minutes a day, 3 minutes a day, like you said, you are fulfilling your own needs. And when you're doing that, that has such a huge impact on your day. It's like I start my day and I will meditate. That's the first thing I do. And I know when I'm in that space, I'm a lot more grounded, I'm a lot more present. And if something does happen, I don't lose it. I'm like, it's okay. I'll deal with it. Right? It's not the end of the world. And it's usually when you do ground yourself, especially in the morning, you can wake up, even if it's 5 minutes early, get a bit of fresh air. You
Yeah.
can go out. It's nice weather. Ground yourself barefoot, right?
Mm,
That is so effective.
mm.
That's super effective. You literally, the moment you have your feet on the grass, everything just it's just gone. Everything's gone, and you're in the present, and it's so, so powerful.
Yeah, and lots of people will say, "Oh, that's a bit woo, isn't it?" But like, it's so much science going into all of this at the moment, and like, there's top doctors that are talking about it on national TV. So you're like, "Well, there's got to be something in it." I love doing that myself, actually. Yeah. So, cool. Well, is there anything else you wanted to share with us before we sign off?
No, I think
No?
that's
Okay, thank you so much for coming and chatting with us today. And pop all your links in the comments below, and we'll get this shared out to as many people as possible. And I will pop it on YouTube as well at some point when I get around to it. But thank you very, very much. And bye bye to everybody else. I'll be back at 12:30 with another Spark Stories today because I'm a busy lady today. So I will speak to you all later. Bye.